Today we are going to be reading Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. I'm really excited because I actually enjoy this book. It's pretty goofy. It's just an easy, lighthearted read, Extra little note. This is going to be a full, part by part read through, not really just a summary or a review. So you clicked on it, you know how long it is, but my goal is really for anyone watching these videos to leave feeling like they've read the book with me. So if it's just the end of a long day or you are kind of curious about a book but you don't want to read it yourself, that's what I'm here for. You're so welcome. Ice Planet Barbarians came out in 2015. It had a big moment in 2023, I think. That's around when I read it. I have not read all of the books. There are 21 books, and I don't think that's including the spinoff Ice Home. But today we are just going to be going over the one. I am interested in reading more of them, so those might be coming. Anyway, without any further ado, let's begin Book 1, Ice Planet Barbarians. So, we open up with our main character for this book, Georgie Carruthers, who is a Southern bank teller that does not believe in aliens. That is, until she wakes up in the middle of being probed by little green men. She freaks out, understandably, and they hit her with some more anesthesia, and she reawakens in a dark, disgusting cage. Now, this cage, obviously dark, so not much description there, but it does have a smell, which she describes as a piss, shit, vomit, sweat cocktail. Yum. And while she's taking all this in, she realizes that she's actually not alone. There are 7 other women with her, huddled together like puppies. Again, she starts freaking out, but a girl has to calm her down, tell her, yeah, we can't be doing that around here. Don't scream, a girl whispers. I roll my too heavy head until I can look over at her. She's about my age, but blonde and thinner than me. Her hair is long and dirty, her eyes big in her lean face. She glances around the room, then puts a finger to her lips in case I didn't understand her earlier warning. This is Liz. Book 2 is her storyline. Yeah, so Georgie now understands that she needs to keep it quiet, and then Liz gives her the rundown. So basically, all the women there are North American, 22, living alone and away from family. They've also gathered that they're being rounded up to be sold. However, the girls are really just trying to find comfort in each other, I guess, which I really liked. There's no mean girl character or like a competitive aspect among them. Not that that would do them any good, but still, I liked that they were just normal women trying to get through a frankly traumatic situation. But yeah, so anyway, Georgie is learning a little bit more the next day, and it's confirmed that there are no toilets, hence the piss, vomit, sweat cocktail permeating the air. Mind you, Liz has been there for 2 weeks. Kira, who has been there the longest, has obviously been there longer, so of course they would need toilets. The aliens didn't think about that. You'll see why. So instead, they're just given a bucket in the corner of the cage for all the girls to use. Very communal, very fun. For food, they have these little bricks that look like dried seaweed and taste like shit. Georgie's words, not mine. And for water, they basically have these gerbil water bottles, that you put on a cage. Yeah, it's pretty bleak. In all seriousness, the women are terrified of these aliens because they have shown how brutal they're willing to be to them very early on. If they make any kind of noise, like loud noise or screaming and stuff like that, they get punished very terribly. It's super disgusting. Actually, it's to the point where the author addresses it in her author's note, saying that the tone of the book early on is very dark because what she was reading at the time was darker. So prepare yourself for that. It's really dark. It does not carry through to the rest of the series. So that could be good news. Yeah, I was actually really shocked when I read it this time because, again, I've read it twice before and then again now. And I was just like, wow, I do not remember this. But yeah, technically not super relevant to this book. Unfortunately, it does come back in a later one. But anyway, after the arrival of another girl, Dominique, Georgie realizes that they need to make a plan. Like, they cannot just keep sitting there. So she tells Lyra. So she tells, almost said kids, no. So she tells Liz and Kira her plan to get the like orange guard alien into the cage with them and then to rush him, take his weapon, force the little green men to take them back to Earth, because as far as they know, they are rapidly leaving the Earth's atmosphere if they are not already far gone. And Georgie, since it's her plan, chooses to be the distraction, which is very brave of her. That night though, things are kind of weird. Like, the aliens seem restless, and Kira, who has a translator, picks up that there's something wrong with the engine. So the aliens are discussing detaching the cargo hold so that they can get their engine repaired and pick it up later. But if you'll remember, the cargo hold is holding all the women, so that presents a problem. Regardless, the girls decide that they need to go through with their plan, and I mean, as you can imagine, it does not all go according to plan. If they got taken back home, we wouldn't have a book, right? Yeah, Georgie manages to get the alien in the cage, but the girls do not rush him. They are too terrified. Another miscalculation on Georgie's part is the waste bucket. I didn't tell you, but there was a waste bucket in this plan. Their bucket, her plan was to throw it on the alien to further distract him. Unfortunately, the bucket is far too heavy for Georgie, given, the measly food that they've had, and she's just not as strong as she once was.
I'm sorry. I used to be much stronger.
So she ends up spilling the waste on them both. And honestly, none of it even really matters because the aliens just go ahead and detach the cargo hold. So the women never finished their plan. It was a good bit of character building for Georgie though, so I'll take it. Anyway, while they're still falling, Georgie does manage to get the alien's weapon and do away with him. And then they crash land and everybody gets knocked out basically. But when they come to, Liz and Georgie are taking stock and quickly realizing that they have no extra food. Well, they have food and water both to last them a week, maybe. But they're a little bit confused about why they don't have any backup food. Like, if the aliens are going to come back and get them, why didn't they leave them with any resources? And it's for the same reason that they didn't have a toilet when they first got there, because they were not the original targets. There are ladies in the walls. There are women in the walls. In pods, in like a cryo sleep, except it's not cryo sleep. They were the original targets. Being in the pods, they don't need food or water or warmth or to use the bathroom. So this also means that since the awake women are basically extras, if they die, they're of no consequence. The aliens, they can still just come back, pick up the pod girls, and go on their merry way. Then Georgie asked a stupid ass question, which is, should we wake them up? No, you shouldn't. You should not wake them up. Not only would you be exposing these blissfully unaware women to their new shitty reality, you also cannot feed them. So, what? Liz tells Georgie as much, thank God for Liz. Despite this, when the inevitable question of what should we do next comes up, they all look at Georgie and wait for her answer. And so Georgie's like, Oh crap, like, am I the leader? Luckily for the women, though, she's up to the task. You know, they need a leader. She's willing to be the leader. Great, wonderful. Georgie reasons that if apparently there's oxygen on the planet, then there must be other forms of life on the planet. Perhaps even an alien city nearby. Personally, I don't think that the other aliens would have left them on a planet that was like obviously inhabited, but whatever. The girls are very wary of being near a city possibly full of aliens. Regardless, though, they have to go out and see if there's anything. They know that there's snow, they know that there's air, but right now, their only options are to stay in the cargo hold and freeze to death or starve to death. So, somebody's got to go. Tiffany, who we've not heard from before, points out to Georgie that all of the women currently are too injured to go on this expedition that she's planning. And unfortunately for Georgie, even with busted ribs and a broken wrist, she's in the best shape out of all of them. She's also their leader. So Liz tells her she should go. And she does not want to do it. I think that's so hilarious because I would not want to be a leader in this situation. I don't think I could just like sit and let things be decided for me if I were capable of moving, but I would not want to be a leader. Georgie goes ahead and she does it. She takes some food, some water, and since the women are actually still all in their pajamas and they're on an ice planet, remember that, she takes the alien that she, that one. She takes his clothes, and obviously their anatomy is a little bit different, but Tiffany helps her squeeze into him, and she begins her trek into the vast, icy abyss. I gotta brush my hair every once in a while to keep it tamed. Yeah. Alright, anyway. Now, many times I have said that this planet is covered in ice. Because it is. The girls see this and liken the planet to Hoth from Star Wars, except not. So, not Hoth. That's what we're on now. And not Hoth is bitterly cold, but luckily the air is breathable and the air pressure does not crush their lungs to dust. So far so good. It has 2 suns and giant blue men walking around. We don't see them yet, but we will. We'll get there. Don't worry. Other than that, it could have basically been Siberia that they landed on. It is not, however. And spoiler alert, they can never, ever, ever go home. Now, Georgie is walking, taking in all the sights, realizing that the aliens probably left them there on purpose, knowing that they couldn't fend for themselves, when she hears water. Yay! And not just any water, you guys. Warm water. So she goes to the stream. Duh. She's at the stream, wondering maybe if the water is a little too warm for her to be standing on. So she grabs onto a stalk near the bank, looks down, and notices that the stalk is attached to a face. A giant fish face. Long story short, she almost gets eaten. And after that, Georgie is very much done with this whole thing. I get it. I don't blame her. She's just like, I am cold. I'm hungry. I'm from Florida. Okay, I'm tired. My body hurts. I just want to go home. But there is no going home. And there is no turning around and going back to the cargo bay. You've already walked too far. And there are people counting on you. So she keeps going. That's all she can do. And as she's keeping on, she steps into a trap, a snare, and loses consciousness. The thought of losing consciousness to me is incredibly terrifying. Luckily for Georgie, she doesn't freeze to death or get eaten or mauled by something. Instead, we get introduced to Vector. And what an introduction it is. Okay, Now we get our first POV change of the series. The books are dual POV with the two love interests. I don't know how you guys feel about multiple POVs, but I appreciate having both. So, Vector. I actually really like Vector. He's one of the few love interests that I care anything about, to be honest. Sorry. The other ones, they didn't stick out to me very much. There's one that I liked, but I actually don't like the book that he's in. It sucks. Anyway, Vector is the chief of the Sequi tribe. The Sequi are kind of like muscular horned avatars in terms of physical description. There are other obvious differences, of course, but the Sequi have like these hard plates on their body, kind of like armor. They also have rock hard nipples. Their like back legs are kind of like a lion's, you know, if a lion was bipedal. And they also happen to have massive blue tits. They conveniently are made very compatible with the human female anatomy. But that's amazing. It's also so amazing that all these women happen to be straight. It's not a judgment. I was pondering a little bit, but it's a romance book written for straight women, so I get it. I don't mind. I love it. Okay. So Vector sees Georgie squirming in his trap, and he's obviously like, what the hell is this? Of course, he's never seen a human before, but he does realize that she smells somewhat like Sequi. Maybe an important note, the he can smell her thing happens a few times in this book. I didn't find it gratuitous like in some books when it's like, okay, gross. But, you know, I don't mind that much, but I know some people really don't like it. Some people care. But anyway, they have a somewhat similar smell, which could allude to them being a similar species almost. This is further evidenced when Vector cuts her down and his qui begins to resonate. Now, what the hell is a qui and why does it resonate? Let's see. And then I am shocked anew as my qui resonates inside me, my inward being, which has lain dormant for so long, which recognizes no mate amongst my people. That's a question mark. I didn't say it as a question. It vibrates and sings at the sight of this new creature. So, of course, we can infer that the qui is, or resonance rather, is like mating kind of thing. Yeah. By the way, if you hate the whole mating trope, maybe kind of fated lovers, I guess, you're gonna hate this series. That's the whole point of this series. So, but yeah, a qui is a symbiote. In the book, they call it a symbiont or whatever. I'm gonna call it a symbiote because that's what we call it here on Earth. Okay, symbiote that keeps whatever live thing has a qui warm. It gives them glowing eyes. It also chooses for them the perfect reproductive partner. It's not really about like emotional compatibility. It's about reproductive compatibility. This is actually a very pressing issue for the Sequi right now because their birthright is birthright. Because their birth rates are down the freaking gutter, okay? You got what? I think it was 4 or 5 unmated females and over 20 unmated males, and nobody's resonating around here. So what the heck is going on? We don't know. But the fact that Vector has resonated is a really big deal to him. Not so much to Georgie. Anyway, Vector cuts her down and finds one of the hunters' caves, takes her there. It is the bitter season when hunters must be cautious when journeying out far from the home caves. There are a series of hunting caves that only see use on the coldest of nights when a hunter is many sprints away from home. They are ingrained into my brain after turn upon countless turn of hunts, and I find the nearest one's location easily. I push aside the leathery flap protecting the entrance and set my burden down on the floor. A quick shake of the furs does not reveal hidden occupants, so I move the she creature, for it must be a she to them, Her teeth clack together, making the cold sound that young sometimes make before they're sequy, so I touch her eyelid and pry it open to see if she's lit from within. The eye underneath is white, dull. There's no queen inside of her, or if there is, it is dead. She will need to be treated as if a child then. I make a fire quickly and wait for it to warm her. Aw. And because my curiosity has the best of me, I examine her. I tell myself it's simply to determine if she's wounded, but my mind sings with curiosity, my queen vibrating within my chest with a song that's growing greater with every possible moment. She's making me resonate. She is mine. There's a lot of that. But yeah, you know what time it is. I run a hand over her limbs. She's wearing some sort of clothing that stinks of old, bitter memories. That's the I want to rip it off her, but if she is as helpless as a kit, she will need it. So I take time to find the fastenings and undo them, revealing the flesh underneath. She's smooth, not like a sequoia. Her flesh is almost completely hairless, save for the long flowing locks on her crown and a small tuft between her thighs that's revealed as I pull her leathers from her. I snort with amusement at that small tuft. Adorable. Adorable and nonsensical. Vector's down with a little bush. I like it. But soon enough, he has buried his face where he ought not be messing. But this is the main point of the Quee. It gives you the overwhelming urge to f**k. So Georgie begins waking up to Vector's little hobby. And of course, is like, oh wow, this is like a good ass dream until she touches Horn. And that wakes her up real quick. He looks up at me, and as he does, I gasp. He's not human. I mean, I knew that with the horns and all, but looking at his face, I can tell he's really not human. He's blue for one thing. Well, bluish gray with a black mane of hair that reminds me of a lion's mane. His brows are heavy, heavier than any human brow I've seen. His face rugged like it's carved from stone. Going straight down his forehead to the tip of his nose is a striated pattern of ridges of some kind, his bluish-gray skin slightly darker there, and his eyes are glowing a shade of blue that I've never seen, blue like Caribbean waters but completely without pupils of any kind, and they're glowing as if from within. So, yeah, she's freaking out, and she's like, this is like kind of weird, but I'll get up in a minute. And Vector realizes that her anatomy is quite different from sequoia females, just meaning that sequoia females don't have a clitoris. Who knew? And so Vector is having a lot of fun with this little discovery because Georgie reacts every time he touches her there. And he's very pleased with himself. And so then Georgie's like, all right, it's time to go. Vector has other ideas, and Georgie is not at all with it. She kicks him in the chest, but ends up hurting her foot really bad. It's like that scene from Eclipse. Okay, part 2. My mate, the resonance of my Quee, my new reason for existing, has just planted her tiny strange foot in my chest and kicked. It's almost as if she does not want to mate. Her strange dead eyes are wide with fear, no comforting glow in them. I want to tell her that she'll be fine, that she's mine now and I'll take care of her, that we'll take down one of the monstrous Sokotsk and pull a new Quee from its depths so she will no longer suffer. But I'm puzzled as to why she would hurt herself. I rub my chest where her tiny foot landed. Yeah, it's really weird that she would just do that. It's almost like that's not what she was trying to do. Hurt herself randomly, yeah. And this is only in the first book, but they do the thing where since they can't understand each other, they don't both speak English. Don't be silly. Georgie's words are, I don't know how to describe it. I guess I could show you, but I'm not gonna. They're written so that they don't have any vowels, it's just the consonants. And I find that fun. Some people might not like that, but I like knowing how he hears what English sounds like, specifically Southern Floridian English. Let me see your foot, I demand. If she has no Quee, she probably does not heal as she should either. When she continues to give me a frightened look, I reach for it and place my hand on her ankle. She bellows something and thrashes at me again. Her hand curls into a fist and she smacks it into my face, knocking my lip against my teeth. A flash of pain shoots through my mouth and I snarl. She immediately goes quiet, flinching backward. her hands raised to shield herself. I'm sickened at her reaction. This woman, this small creature who has half the stature of a sequoia, is my mate. How can she possibly think I would harm her? But she's cringing back even now, as if expecting a blow to fall. Rage fills me, because this is not a normal response. Someone has hurt my mate in the past. Okay, sure. It probably has more to do with the sexually aggressive rando man with horns snarling at her. That's no response. No, it's not. I reach forward and turn her pale face toward me. She fights, but her eyes close again, and she begins to tremble. I gaze at her small, flat features. Her skin tone is regular, except for mottled bruising along one side. There is the evidence I suspected. Who did this to you? I ask. Bruh, not the who hurt you. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know what I don't like about it, but I'm just like, what are you gonna do? I guess maybe that's it, you know? But anyway. Yeah, so Vectel is pretty taken with Georgie. As taken as you can be with someone that you just met 5 seconds ago and cannot communicate with. He's also understanding now that he is the only one feeling this way. Obviously, we know that resonance and like mates is not something Georgie would be familiar with. But for the sequoia, it's what they grow up hearing about and what they look forward to in their lives. So, yeah, he's kind of having the experience that he's always dreamed of, except for the part where it's one-sided. But he respects that what's happening with him is not happening with her, and he backs off. We love it. As they're talking, though, he's noticing more differences between them, like the fact that she does not have fangs. I notice her fangs are gone, and my heart stills in my breast, my qui ceasing its resonance. Despite her slapping touch, I pull her lips back to examine her teeth. Are they broken? But no, it appears as if her small teeth are just that, whole and not nearly as large as my own front tusks. Strange creature. Yeah, okay. She doesn't have tusks. Her body is different than that of a sequoia. She's soft and hairless in most places, and I haven't seen a tail. And then there's that strange nipple for some reason they decided. Okay, whatever. Between her legs. I find it arousing because it makes me think of how she tastes. I want her on my tongue again. Even now my mouth waters in remembrance. I don't even know why I finished that. But anyway. Yeah, but he decides to just sit back and see what she'll do next, you know? She begins gathering her clothes around her, and he realizes, oh, she's probably cold. So he builds another fire. And as they're warming their hands against the fire, he realizes that she has 5 fingers instead of 4, which later on in the book they say 3. I don't know which one is right, but I'm going to say 4. It is yet another difference between us. I'm fascinated and a little revolted by those extra fingers. It's not, I mean, revolting is a little crazy. So Georgie starts trying to tell Vectel her name. And at first he thinks he's asking about resonance, which makes your chest vibrate. I don't know if I told you that, but yeah, it makes it vibrate almost like a purring. And so he takes her hand and puts it to his chest and then resonates, and she recoils twice because that's not what she meant. But anyway, eventually he gets it, and he tells her that his name is Vectel. However, I don't know how his language is supposed to sound, obviously, but she calls him Vectel, which is what we read. But apparently she says it like Huptel. So how is he saying it, you know? Whatever. He hears her name, Georgie, and calls her Shorshi. And I thought that was really cute. He doesn't call her that forever. Eventually he gets it Georgie. But for a little while it was cute. Her own name is garbled syllables, but I try to pronounce it to make her happy. Shorshi she is, and Shorshi is a mystery to me. She has no tail, no fur. She wears strange leathers and walks the dangerous hunting lands with no weapons. She had a weapon. She's weak and soft and has no qui, and she does not speak a word of proper language. It makes no sense. How can Shorshi be here? Creature, every creature has a qui. My people, the Sequi, are the only intelligent people in the world. There are Metlacs, but they are covered in hair and no smarter than rocks. They have not yet mastered fire. Sure, she is smart. She doesn't flinch away from the fire like a Metlac. She recognizes it, and she is wearing cured leather. Her boots are finer than any I have seen. Sure, she has come from a people from somewhere, but where, I can't ask her. We can barely communicate. And then Vectel realizes that if she's not from here, she must have never had a queen, which I thought was a late ass realization, but whatever. And even if she didn't have one before, or even if she did have one before and it died, wouldn't she still need a new one? He says that to not have a qui is a death sentence, but would that not still be true if you had a qui and it died? So we're back to Georgie, and she doesn't know yet, but her time is running out, so Vectel is going to try to get her a qui. For now, though, she is sitting warm in front of the fire, and that makes her think about the girls and feel really guilty because last she left them, they were beginning to freeze and they didn't really have any food. She's hungry. Vectel tries to. I don't know why I said it like that. Vectel tries to give her some of his food, but she cannot eat it. It's way too spicy. Like, she tries, but she has to spit it out. And at this point, she's ready to cry. I would be too. But it's okay. He will go get her some food. He will check his straps that he said and bring her back something. But for tonight, they end up falling asleep, and she's so happy and so giggling. And it's like, girl, stay focused, okay? On the other hand, it's not like she can do a whole bunch. Like, she doesn't have anything to bring back to the girls. She's completely reliant on Vectel right now, so. But as they wake, it's clear that Georgie is quickly losing the plot. Do not worry, she'll find it again real soon. For now, though, she's just really enjoying being snuggled up to Vectel because he's fuzzy and warm. Who wouldn't enjoy that, honestly? Just a big, soft, vibrating heating pad. And so, since they're awake now and she's still so hungry, Vectel puts her on his back and is like, come on, let's go get you some food. Well, so I push my head against his neck and press my cold face into his warm hair. He smells good, too. Great, now I've got Stockholm Syndrome. He pushes down the mountainside, moving down the steep slopes as if they're nothing. We pass through another copse of trees, and I realize for the first time that we're heading the wrong way from the crash site. I haven't been paying attention, dazed from hunger and cold, but this is wrong. Everyone up there is waiting for me, shivering and starving. I can't leave them. So, yeah, she's having a good time smelling him before she realizes that they are going in the wrong direction. So she tells him, like, no, we need to go up the mountain, but he refuses to because the food that he needs to get for her is down the mountain. Vectel shakes his shaggy head and mimes eating. Then he points at the forest below us, down the snowy slopes. I waver. Do I let him take me farther away to eat, or do we immediately go up to the others and still starve? I hesitate. They probably already think something's happened to me. My stomach growls again. Vectel gives me an exasperated look. He says the food word again. Kusk, or whatever. I bite my lip, thinking. I glance back at the mountain. Everything in me says I need to insist, but I'm feeling so weak and starved. I can convince him to go back later, can't I? Once I've gotten something to eat. And won't it be better to show up not empty-handed? And you know what? Yes, I think it would. Of course, time is of the essence. She doesn't know how bad a state the girls are in right now, but she needs to eat to have the strength to get back up there, and it would be better to have something to bring to them. So, food it is. And turns out having Vectel is a real lifesaver because Georgie is like completely unaware of all the dangers that are just lurking around her. The valley blossoms with teeming wildlife. I can tell from my mate's easy grip on my neck that she doesn't see the skulking snowcats in the distance or the form of the sicklebeak hiding behind a nearby tree. My hunter's gaze picks them out, and I search for a safe spot in which I can leave my mate without worry for a short time. There is a large boulder I can use for a lookout on the far side of the narrow valley, and I head there, pushing through the ever deepening snow. Though the weather doesn't bother me, my mate's shivering increases the longer we are out. She won't be able to travel far unless I get her something warmer to wear. So food first, then skin so I may dress my soft, fragile shorshi. I'll protect her with my life if I must. So, of course, after he has all that figured out, all that's left to think about is how badly he wants to claim his mate. But now is not the time. Georgie is scared and she's cold and she's hungry. So, chill. But later, definitely later. And he has a very detailed image of how that mating is gonna go. And the amount of times like the aliens are just walking around this planet in ice bricked up, baffling. So he shows her, like, I've saved the best pieces for you, the organs. And she's like, please don't make me eat that. And he's just like, what the heck? But whatever. Instead, he slices her some of the meat. Here you go. And she's just like, you have to cook it. Like, she mimes a fire, like, you have to cook it. And he's so disgusted. He's like, you want me to burn the food? Like, that's disgusting. But he's trying to get her to eat it. So he's like, yum, yum, you know? And she's just gagging, like, no, like, I can't do it. But he's just like, look, I will burn some for you later, I promise, but you have to eat now. So she eats it. And even though she's gagging, he's just happy because food in her stomach means strength for the rest of the day. So, Vectel is thinking about how weak and fragile Georgie is and about how little she knows about how to take care of herself on the planet. So he decides to test her by letting her, walk around. He takes her to a stream. Of course, like water, I'm going to run to it too. But he takes her to a stream and she immediately starts walking, no regard for any danger that could be out there. And he has to pull her back and show her, like, hey, yeah, there are actually like man-eating fish in here and they will tear you up in a second. Luckily, the Sequoia know how to get around them. So they carry around these red berries and you crush them up in some snow and throw it in there. And the fangfish is what they're called, don't like the taste of the berries. So they'll leave for like the rest of the day, which is good because this water is like it's a hot spring. So it has a rotten egg smell, but gross. But the water is drinkable and it's warm and, relaxing for the body. And all Georgie wants to do is take a nice bath. And I get it, girl. She's covered in waste and all these other things. So she just really wants to take a bath. Luckily for her, the berries also work as a soap. So Vectel lathers her up and he is very like, she wants a bath, she's gonna get a bath. There you go. Like, it's not like he's not trying to touch her and all that stuff. It ain't like that. He's just trying to wash her because she wants to be clean and he understands that. And I'm sure he wants her to be clean too. Of course, though, in order to take a bath, you have to rid yourself of your leathers. So he does. And she sees it. And of course she's trying not to stare, but she's like, this is too freaky. The tail and the horns were one thing, but this is a lot. But she's very intrigued, So yeah, he's washing her. He's not being pushy, which we love to see it. Like, we can tell that he is very turned on just by being around Georgie in general. But despite that, he's not messing with her. And I thought that was very likable. Georgie likes it too. And she's just happy that she can feel safe for like the first time since she woke up on an alien ship. And yeah, she's realizing that, she kind of likes him and he really likes her. And she can use that to her advantage. So she turns on the charm. She's up against him, and she's like, will you take me up the mountain? To which he says, no. So she's just like, okay, do you know how to kiss? He does not. And so she shows him what a kiss is and tells him, if you take me up the mountain, I'll kiss you again. And Vector is playing the game too, apparently, because he's like, no. He indicates that if he takes her up the mountain, he wants it full out. Okay. And she's just like, all right. So he starts taking her up the mountain, only it's freezing. So they need to hunker down in a hunter's cave for the night. And she's so fed up. She's like, no, like, let's go. These women are dying. He doesn't know that. Okay. He don't know that. But she's frustrated. So she walks off knowing that he's going to have to follow her, I guess. But instead of getting anything accomplished, she falls into like a pit or something. She falls off a cliff and into a metlak cave. Metlaks are vicious little, I don't know, yeti monkey things. And they start attacking her. But Vector saves her, of course. And he is so annoyed. He is so mad. He's not really mad at Georgie. He could never be mad at Georgie. So he's just like mad at the whole situation, that she can't take care of herself and that she's almost was killed, blah, 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 whatever. He takes her right back to the cave where he had intended to take her in the first place. And Georgie is also just so frustrated about everything as well. But she makes a very good decision, and it's to just stay put. Best move she's made this whole book. Sorry. But okay. They're in the cave. There's tension, of course. But she's just so sad that he's mad at her. But remember, he can never be mad at her. But yeah, she's crying. Vector's just trying to comfort her. And she's feeling very comforted. You catch my drift. Yeah. Then finally, they and of course, you're expecting it to be good. And it's good. And Georgie says a couple times that she's just like glad she can't get pregnant by him, which who says that in the middle of having sex? I don't know, but whatever. This may be a good time to mention that one of the content warnings in the author's note is surprise pregnancy. So Georgie constantly saying that she can't get pregnant is very head ass of her, but she doesn't know what resonance is, so whatever. But still, did I lose you when I said pregnancy? I'm so sorry, but yep. I personally don't think of it as a surprise pregnancy smut. I think of it as a breeding, repopulation, mating smut, and that sits better with me for some reason. I may have just made it so much worse. Honestly, if I see that a book has the pregnancy trope, I'll typically skip it. But I think that this series handled it really well. I'll say that. I also didn't know that was going to happen the first time I read it. So I already liked it by the time I found out. I also want to say that I think Ruby Dixon is very good at timing sex scenes in this series. And the tension in this book I thought was very good. I don't think the tension is there in all of her books, and there could be a correlation between that and the couples that I don't like, now that I think about it. But in this first book, I think the pacing and the tension were both very good. I also think that the girls are pretty realistic in the series. Of course, they have their moments where I want to cringe a little bit. There's an anxiety that rises in me that one of them is going to say doggo randomly. Like Liz or Josie, I think it'd be one of them. Yeah. So today's the day. Yay! Vector is ready to go check his traps after some post-coital rest. And then they're going to trek up the mountain to save the women that he doesn't know exist until he sees a shape in the snow. It's a foot, small, bare, and five-toed, like my Georgie. He's learned how to say her name at this point. It's frozen solid. As I stare down at it, I realize my Georgie's not here alone. This is why she's so frantic to get up the mountain. There are others like her. Or there were. So yeah, Vectel now knows why Georgie is so adamant about getting up the mountain. He knows now that if there are more women, then they are just as fragile and in danger as Georgie is, except kind of more so because they're cold and long and hungry, as well as without a queen. Yeah, that was such a horrible way for him to have that realization, but now he has to go tell Georgie. Hello. It's been at least a week since I filmed that last part, but let's go ahead and get back into it. So Georgie sees that the woman in the snow is Dominique, and she's very confused about why Dominique would be out there. She thinks maybe the women got a little bit desperate and sent Dominique out there to find Georgie. And Georgie, of course, is feeling very guilty about how she's been spending her time while the women have been waiting on her. Um, and I fully get that, but at the same time, I mean, there was not much that she could do. Since meeting Vectel, her plan has been completely dependent on him because, like, there's no way that she would have survived to get back to the cargo bay without him. Still, if I were one of the girls, I would be so pissed to find out that she was getting her back blown out while I was freezing and starving to death. And while Vectel has been undoubtedly helpful to Georgie, I think he's realizing he's also been holding her back more than he would have if he had known what was going on, which of course he didn't. And I think that if he did, he would have pushed harder to get her up the mountain. But they both are feeling very guilty right now. And we'll find out later that Dominique leaving the cargo bay wasn't really, you know, either of their fault. Liz kind of treats it as a, oh, well, she just couldn't hack it. And okay. That led me to wonder, like, did Ruby Dixon have other plans for Dominique originally, or did she just write her to suffer and die? Like, that's so terrible, but I wondered that after reading Liz's reaction to Dominique's death. But anyway, finally they get up the mountain and Georgie is greeted with a snowball to the face because obviously the girls don't know that it's her. They think that she died. So they're very shocked and happy to see her, and she's just so happy that everybody's alive. Anyway, now it's their turn to meet Vectel, and Georgie is very happy that oral sex isn't how his people greet everybody. As you can imagine, the girls are incredibly put off by a big horned alien, but they quickly get over it when they see that he has food that they can cook. And Georgie goes to take the food off of Vectel's belt, and he is so shocked. And he says something that Georgie doesn't understand, but Kira does. He just asked if you want to mate here, Kira says, a voice full of disbelief. Oh shit, Liz says. That's what held her up. Alien nookie. My face feels flaming hot. I jerk my hands back. They're all staring at me. Megan looks amused while Tiffany looks a little horrified. I can explain, I begin. I wouldn't, Liz says. Just let us imagine for a bit and feed us. I don't care if you fucked an entire stadium of aliens if you give me something hot to eat. And they have to wait for him to get supplies to make a fire from the hunter's caves that the hunters use when they're hunting. Before he goes, though, he makes sure to tell the girls to keep an eye on his mate. And Georgie is very shocked by this turn. Of course, she's been feeling him, and, she gets jealous when the girls make jokes about trading favors for food. Mate is just a little bit too far for her. Before she can ask him about it, though, he's like already out of the cargo bay. On his way, he's just trying to process all this information because, like I alluded to earlier, they don't have very many women in their tribe. I think like 4 or 5 unmated women and over 20 unmated males. So Now he's just found 5 more women, and that could solve a huge problem for him if they can resonate with each other. 5 more who could bring our small dying people back to life. We are long lived, thanks to our Qui, but it is a long and lonely life, and I have spent much of mine envious of others with their mates. Now there is Georgie, and Georgie brings hope with her. I don't know how she and her tribe have come here or why they are so poorly equipped to survive. We cannot communicate well enough. In time, I will have answers. For now, I must hunt and feed my small, fragile humans. I worry they are too weak to make it back to the tribal caves. None of them have Qui. Oh, I guess plural for Qui is Qui. That's not important. Anyway, before long, they will sicken and die. It's too early to see weakness in my Georgie, but I have been feeding her and keeping her warm. The others lack the spark in her eyes. They look tired, frail. One has a rattle in her lungs that speaks of sickness. I think of the dead one in the snow, frozen. That will not become my Georgie. So, with renewed fervor, Vectel is racing to the caves to get supplies and, hunt for the women and bring them back anything that he can to make sure they're taken care of. But when he gets back to the cave and he's setting up, he notices that one of the women already have what's called Qui sickness, and none of them know what the hell that is. But basically, if you go too long without a Qui, you get sick and then you die. So time is really of the essence here. For now, all they can really do is try to eat and stay warm to get their strength up. And Vectel keeps trying to feed Georgie, but she's telling him no, I'm fine. The other women need to eat first. Give them the food. Very true, but Georgie is being super annoying about this. Every time he tries to feed her, she gives the girls this look ugh, can you believe this guy? This is so embarrassing. They're just like, girl, just eat the damn food. So after dinner, they're all talking, and Liz wants to tell her about what happened with Dominique. Apparently, she just ran off into the snow. I mean, you could assume that she just couldn't stand waiting in the cargo bay for these aliens that assaulted her to come back and take her, you know? And Liz does point out that the aliens are most likely going to come back and they cannot be there when they do. They need to be long gone, preferably back on Earth. And Georgie has not thought about this at all. To be fair, she's had a lot on her mind. She's been busy with other things, okay? But she hasn't thought about the fact that she's gonna have to leave. So when Liz asks her how Vectel is gonna take it, she really doesn't have an answer. It's a real cross that bridge when we get there kind of situation. They kind of just have to take it one step at a time, and this next step is to get some sleep. And Vectel is tired after the long day getting stuff for the women, but he ain't too tired, if you know what I mean. So yeah, they're kissing and all that, but it soon becomes apparent that the girls can hear them because duh, they're in a big metal box. Of course they can hear you kissing and moaning. Vectel is so annoyed that there are other people around because they're cutting into his cracking time, and he doesn't get what the big deal is because he's seen and heard his people mate plenty of times. Which, heard, I get. You live in caves, the echo keeps you up at night, I'm sure. But seen? Excuse me? The women just want to leave the cargo bay and go with him, but he's expressing to him that that's not possible. He can't take them on this days-long journey and keep them fed and warm and safe. It's just too much. So he's going to take Georgie to the tribal caves and get a group of hunters together so that they can bring supplies back to the women, and there'll be enough men to keep the women safe as they bring them back to the tribal caves. Again, the journey is a long one, so they stop for the night at what's called the Elder's Cave, and it's obvious to Georgie after they get there that this cave is actually a spaceship. She realizes this in the middle of cock warming after they have sex, by the way. The greatest of revelations come at the most inopportune times, I tell you. But yes, the Cave of Elders is a spaceship. Vectel never knew this because his people don't have technology. They're goddamn barbarians. But Georgie realizes that this could be their ticket home. So after melting the ice away from the control panel, she sees a button. But she realizes she really doesn't want a chance pressing random buttons. She would be just as happy walking out of the Elder's Cave with Vector like nothing ever happened. And if the decision impacted only her, she probably would. But all the other women, they want to go home. They don't have a big, strong alien that looks at them like they're the moon and knows how to put it down. So she presses the blinking button. And when it wakes up, it asks her a question that she, of course, doesn't understand because it's in an alien language. But the AI is able to pick up that she's speaking English and can speak it back to her. Very nice. After it boots up, it gives her quite an info dump. I'll read it all to you. The computer hums for a moment longer, and then I feel a gust of warm air brush my face. Environmental controls online. Ideal habitat temperature for humans is 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Ideal habitat temperature for modified Sach is 3 degrees Celsius or 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Which shall I program? Modified Sach, I ask. The male at your side is a Sach life form, modified for habitation on this planet. Sach originate from a planet that they call Kes, or home in their language. It is approximately 3.2 million parsecs from your planet Earth. This planet is 5.8 million parsecs from your planet Earth. That sounds far. I feel faint. I have so many questions. I don't know what to ask first. What is this place? This planet has many names depending on the language. Your species has not discovered the solar system yet. Our current location is the second planet in this binary sun system. This particular world completes an orbit around the sun's every 372.5 days and rotates on its axis every 27.2 hours. The current temperature is cold. Yeah, I know. So if he's not from here, how did he get here? This vessel was originally a Sach pleasure cruiser. Due to a solar storm, the crew was forced to shelter at the nearest habitable planet, which you are currently on. They experienced technical difficulties. The pilot experienced congestive heart failure, and a secondary was unavailable to pilot the ship. A distress signal was launched, but malfunctioned. No further signals were sent. So Vectel's people are stranded here too. How many of his people crashed here? Logbooks record 62 passengers and 1 pilot. Many also died before accepting the symbiont. So now we get to hear more about what the Qui is. This planet has an element in its atmosphere that is toxic to humankind and also to Sach. It is a gas element similar to nitrogen that has not yet been discovered by humans as it does not exist in any form on Earth. Your body is not equipped to filter it out of the air. Once you reach toxic levels of the element, your body will slowly shut down. The Sach at your side exist in mutualistic symbiosis with a creature they refer to as a Qui. So, yeah, that's the whole thing with the Qui. The Qui enhances the body of its host and makes subtle changes in order to allow it to thrive in an otherwise hostile environment. Those who originally found themselves stranded on this planet lasted 8 days without the symbiotic relationship. So, Georgie is beginning to understand the significance of a Qui and how important it is for her to get one. Without one, she only has days left. And the women are not as well off as she is. One of them is already sick. But Georgie asks a very important question, and that is, if I get the Queen now, can I get it removed when I return to Earth? Once implanted, the Queen and host are dependent upon each other. The Queen cannot exist outside of its host for longer than a few minutes, and the host will need a replacement Queen in order to survive. But if I don't get the parasite, I only have days left to live, not even a week now. The green men must know that we humans can't survive on this planet for long. That means that either they aren't intending to pick us up again, or they're going to be returning very, very shortly. Okay, so with the whole her asking, can she get the queen removed? That's one question, but that doesn't answer her bigger question, which is, can she go back home? That wasn't answered. So it's like, could she get the queen and then return to Earth and just live with the queen, you know? Or maybe the queen needs that environment to survive in. So in that way, like they would have to stay there. I don't know. She takes it as a no. I think any of us would have, but either way, none of it matters because they don't have a ship. And even if they did, none of them know how to pilot one. So, but this new information really lights a fire under Georgie's ass because right now it's looking like they'll either die from quee sickness or the little green men are coming back very soon. So she's telling Vector, like, hey, we gotta go. Vector says something and they're lamenting the fact that they can't understand each other. So the AI is just like, oh, I can do like linguistic transfer if you want me to or whatever. Don't you just love technology? Vector doesn't because the process knocks Georgie out, but she does wake up again. Her eyes blink open, and the pale, ugly white with a weak blue circle in the middle is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Aww. But yeah, she can speak his language now, and I'm really glad that's done. Okay, because as fun as it was to like read how he hears the language, them not being able to communicate was getting kind of annoying. So Vector is having a grand old time getting to talk with Georgie and call her his mate, to which Georgie responds, I'm not your mate. And Vector's just like, you're confused. My queen chose yours, and when you get one, yours will choose me. There. But Georgie tells him that she's not even sure she wants to stay and get one if there's a chance that she can go home. And she also has to tell the other women all this information so that they can choose for themselves. And they will also be making that decision for all the women in pods. So, you know, they really need to talk about it. Realistically, though, even if the ship could fly, one of them knew how to pilot it, I I doubt that they would survive to get back to Earth. Like, I don't want to be a downer, but reading them talk as if they have a choice is just kind of odd because even though it like creates a little bit of tension, it's still obvious that there's no actual choice. But still, Georgie says this to Vector, and even though he's really sad and disappointed, he understands and he knows that he can't be selfish with Georgie and like run off with her the way that he wants to, because that could mean, or it will mean, death for all the women, and he will also be robbing his tribesmen of the opportunity to resonate and find their mate. Now they are both focused and on the same page for like the first time, and they get back to the tribal caves where they meet Rahash, one of the tribesmen, obviously. And Vector tells him, like, hey, I resonated, and shows him Georgie, and Rahash is just like,
what the hell is even that?
But still, he's very intrigued. He doesn't care if his mate is going to be freaky looking, just that she's his. Unfortunately, for whatever ideas are brewing in Rahash's head, Georgie takes and acts to that real quick. She does not care about that queer shit. She tells them mating has to be agreed upon by the women. You don't just get to show up and snatch one. But that's a problem for later. Right now, they're being greeted by the tribe, and everybody's so happy to see Vector back home. And
oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
a kid is like, Mama, why is it so ugly? And Georgie just laughs. She's not like offended. It just goes to show, like, you know, we're all used to different things. But Vector is very offended for her, and he tells them, like, it doesn't matter if my mate is pleasing to your eyes or not. Like, she's meant for me. So he thinks that she's beautiful and he loves her. And, you know, again, the guys don't care what the women look like. They just want to resonate. And still, Georgie is framing it as this, like, open season on women kind of vibe. And it's obvious to us as readers, because I guess we get Vectel's POV, that it's really not like that for the men. Like, they're not just looking for women to have sex with. Obviously, yes, they want to do that. But for them, resonating is about finding that one person that you will spend the rest of your life with, that you'll protect and you'll have a family with. And the men in the tribe really value that. I think that that's beautiful. She has no way of really understanding that because she's meeting all these people for the first time, and all of her experiences with Vectel have been extremely sexual. She obviously, they're framed as barbarians, but they're not animals, you know? They may not have advanced technology, but they're not like uncivilized. I say that, but one of the men runs off with a woman, so whatever. It was just kind of weird. It's always weird reading her take on resonance and all that stuff. And I guess at the same time, it has not been described very well to her by Vectel or anyone else. I guess the girl, Malak, the girl, Malak, the healer, she kind of describes it to her a little bit. But even then, I don't think a good job was done. The scene with Malak was also kind of stupid to me. Like, I guess there was that, and then Georgie gets jealous because Vectel and Malak used to be lovers before Malak resonated to someone else. But the whole reason that she sees Malak is because, like I said, she's a healer and Georgie's wrist is still broken, of course. So she's like, oh, well, you know, maybe I can do something. But she literally can't do anything if Georgie doesn't have a Quee. So I was like, what was the point? Anyway, while Malak and Georgie are talking, Vectel is talking with the men, and they have a lot of questions. Questions that are far too intimate for my sensitivities. But Saluk is asking Vectel things, and this goes back to what I was saying before about Georgie's view on resonance being kind of weird, because yes, he's asking intimate questions, but even Vectel is just like, you know, of course he's curious about these kind of things. Claiming a mate and having a family is his greatest desire. Bro, I'm so easy. Okay. But I thought that was really sweet. And Saluk is the other guy that I like, the other love interest. Anyway, they have a group together and they're prepared to leave in the morning. For tonight, Georgie and Vectel get to have some kissy time. Yeah, kissy time. Afterwards, Vectel isn't resonating, you know, he's not purring. And Georgie asks why, and he's just like, you know, don't worry about it. My resonating is something that will happen even after we have our kid. And she's just like, why am I getting the image of a child when you say that? And he's just like, because that's what that means. And she is so confused about why he would even think they could procreate with each other when they're not the same species. And he explains to her, that's what resonating is. Have I not explained this to her? That is how the Quee chooses, I tell her. It determines offspring. A resonance mate is the only one who can bear children. Offspring only come through a Quee mating. Congrats, Georgie. I personally am not like against having children, but to be fucking the days away, thinking, oh, this is great, no consequence can come of this, and then to find out like, no, this is literally the whole point. Oh my god. So yeah, Georgie freaks out and she's like mad about it in theory, because as they're climbing up the mountain to get back to the women, she thinks about it and she's just like, oh, you know, I'm not that mad, and the fact that it makes him so happy makes me happy. So finally they get back to the cargo hold and things are looking grim. The women are very sick. They're huddled together and just not moving. Kira can barely talk. Tiffany has a fever and she's just like not waking up. And Georgie hears a very familiar purring sound because one of the men has resonated and they're keeping it a secret, which is very suspect. And Georgie seems like bothered that one of the men has resonated, but like it's not really something they can control. Like it kind of just happens. But yeah, the men are just doting on the women, feeding them, trying to make sure they're warm. But Georgie needs to talk to them privately, so she gets Vectel to like get them out. He has them go hunt for more food. But yeah, Georgie tells them everything that she's found out, and she doesn't want to impact their decision on whether or not to stay or to go. But they're just like, we literally can't do anything else. And the guys are nice. Like, why would we leave? And you see, it's that whole like, there was never another option. All there's left to do now is to tell Vectel that there are 6 women in the walls, and he's very elated by this, and then go get their quees. Luckily, Rahash saw a Sokotsk, or whatever, a Sokotsk, whatever, somewhere nearby. So they're gonna go hunt for the Quee in the morning. So they begin waking up the women in the pods, and not all of them are on board with the whole plan. But again, choice is just an illusion in this book because as soon as dissenting opinions become known, the women's trackers in Kira's earpiece start causing them pain, and they realize like, oh, the aliens are coming back like at this very moment, and so they have to go. But really, everything's coming together just the way they needed it to. So they start moving so that they can get their Quee, which are little glowing worms that live in the heart of the Sokotsk. So what you do is you kill the Sokotsk, get the heart, take out the Quee, make a little incision in the neck, and it burrows in. We get a quick little bit of action when Georgie sees Vectel take one of these beasts down, and she's so relieved that he's okay that she runs over to him and whatever. But now's the time, and Georgie is up first. She's been their leader this whole time, and they need her to be brave and let this parasite burrow its way into her body so that they can follow suit. And she does it. She reawakens, and the first thing that she notices is how warm she is because the Quee does that. Well, I suppose it lowers your body temperature. It doesn't make you hotter. Or whatever. It's really not important. She has glowing blue eyes, just like anything else with the Quee, and so do all the other women because they all got Quees too. Yay! Georgie is also noticing this like loud thunder that no one else seems to be hearing, and Vectel just laughs and tells her like, that is you resonating to me. Aw, see, I told you. How funny would it have been if Georgie finally got the Quee and she didn't resonate to Vectel? Like she just resonates to someone else. As fun as that would have been, she doesn't. She resonates to Vectel. And she's having a very hard time focusing on anything other than how gorgeous Vectel is. But once she does, she realizes that there is a lot of purring going on, and not all of it is coming from her because some of the women, not all of them, but some of them, after they got their Quee, resonated immediately. But one of them didn't resonate quickly enough, apparently, because Rahash has stolen away with Liz and run off to a hunter's cave. And Georgie asked Vectel, like, should we go after them? And Vectel is like, no, Rahash is the best hunter. If he don't want to be found, like, we're not going to find him. And also, like, he would never hurt a woman. So with that, Georgie's just like, okay, fine. And of course, it's off-putting that he stole a woman. His whole plan, I guess, is to cut her off from all the other men so that when she does resonate, like, he's the only man around for her to resonate to, I guess. Which I had always assumed that it was him who had resonated in the cargo bay and was keeping it a secret. I read the second book, but I don't remember how it goes. But if it was him, then he didn't need to take her away because he would just have to wait a little bit for her body to be ready to resonate. And then she would resonate to him, just like Georgie and Vectel. Some of the women aren't resonating because reproduction is the whole point of resonance and they're just not ready for that. But the Queen will get that sorted out. Don't you worry. But with everything taken care of, Georgie and Vectel run off into the snow to enjoy their resonance, as one of the men says enviously. But they don't care. They are in the middle of backshots galore when they see an alien spaceship hovering in the distance, and then it just like blinks out of the atmosphere because the women actually like cut out their trackers and threw it into a Metlac cave like hours ago. So yeah, now the women in the Sequoia are just living happily ever after. And that concludes book 1. Okay, now I feel like this video has been fairly devoid of my own opinions and criticisms. And part of that is because I am still trying to decide on a format for the videos. And I think I've landed on this, like going through the book and saving my own thoughts till the end. The thing is, I just never really intended for the channel to be a review channel. It's really just reading and like talking through them. But I think that this is a good middle ground for people who are looking for either or both. So with all that being said, I genuinely enjoy this book. I think Georgie was a fine narrator. I personally don't find her or any of the women to be relatable. You may relate. I just didn't. But I don't feel like I need to relate to a character when I read a book. Their job is to just get me through the story. So as long as I like the story, it's fine. But yeah, I like Georgie just fine. I might have found the amount of time she's referred to as, you know, fragile and small annoying if it were framed differently. When Vectel says it, he doesn't say it with this like reverence or something like that. He says it because that's just her state of being, you know? It's like, compared to me and the women in my tribe, she is unable to take care of herself because she's a human. You know, she's just simply weaker than they are. And Georgie also doesn't see herself as this, you know, tiny waif. She's aware that she is fragile, but that's due to her current circumstance when the book starts. You know, it's never treated as a personality trait. And I also do like Vectel, as I said. I did find his like aggressive horniness to be off-putting sometimes, but I can, you know, allow myself to enjoy it within the confines of this book because I feel like the author has made it a rule in the series that these aliens will not hurt the women, you know, and I can definitely enjoy this planet full of men whose only joy in life is pleasing and feeding their women, that they're one woman that they're bound to for the rest of their lives. You know, I can get down with that. I think that this series, like a lot of specifically monster smut, makes it so that you are able to kind of release convention and ignore boundaries that you've set up for yourself. That might sound kind of weird, but it's like, would I have sex with a Sequoia if he landed on Earth right now today? Probably, yeah. So fast, actually. So never mind. But my point is, we can all think of something that we wouldn't usually do in our everyday lives, but within the safety of smut we can enjoy it. And I think Ruby Dixon created kind of the perfect world for that. She, like I said, sets the rule for readers that they're safe here. Even being, kind of bound to a man, you are protected and just coveted. And even though Georgie pretends that she has a choice, there never really was one. So there's nothing left for the reader to do other than embrace the plot. And I'm not upset about that. Will this book be for everyone? Absolutely not. But that's the beauty of smut, there's something for everybody. Some people like dubious consent. Some people like breeding smut. Others can't wrap their heads around that, and it's okay either way. But yeah, that's all for Ice Planet Barbarians book 1. What did you guys think? Do you guys like Georgie? Do you like Vectel? Would you want to stay on Not Hoth? I am pretty easily on the yes side of that, but I am curious if people have thought about like a serious drawback that would change my mind. Anyway, I had a really good time reading this book, and I hope that you guys enjoyed joining me. I've got lots of videos planned for the future, so I hope to see you all there. Thanks for watching. Bye.